everybody, and welcome to another Top 5 board gaming video. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest categories in board gaming. Not only is it the fact that there are so many games that utilize this specific mechanic, but it's also one of the very fundamental things that so many games actually have, and so many games are built off of. The mechanic itself is worker placement. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the basic idea behind worker placement is that you place your tokens, your meeples, whatever they happen to be, something that represents you as a player and what you're trying to do, and then those little pieces do something. Right? Something happens with them. Typically, it's a competitive environment in the context of if you put something in one place, then nobody else can put it there, and things like that. And generally, it takes a little bit of time before something happens. Sometimes it's just later in the same turn. Sometimes you have to wait a little bit longer, and I actually have examples of both of those. But that said, several of the games that I'm going to be talking about I don't actually own, so just be prepared for that. But the other major thing is, do keep in mind, again, this is a huge category. There are a ton of games, and I more than likely won't be mentioning your personal favorite. So as always, please make certain that you take a look at what I've got, and then make certain that you mention what your personal favorites are. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with my number 5. Number 5 is one of the 2 games on this list that I personally do not own. It is Stone Age. Stone Age is very frequently held up as a very good worker placement game, and it is. One of the great things I love about this game is the fact that it's relatively simple compared to a lot of other worker placement style games. The nice thing is that you do have a lot of different things that you're able to do. You've got things like you can go out hunting, you've got the gathering, you can go work in the quarry, there's a couple of other little things. In addition, there's a really great expansion for it as well that I believe is just called Stone Age the Expansion, just to keep things simple, I suppose. The reason that it's down a little bit lower on the list is in part because of its simplicity. I know that's really pretty contradictory for somebody to say, but the thing is, when I think of a worker placement game, I think of something that is extremely intense. I think of something that I either greatly enjoy because of the thematic elements, or I think of it as something that just makes me have to keep track of so many things simultaneously. But that said, again, there are so many other different games, and again, Stone Age is a great game. It's a wonderful game. It is a great game to play, and especially if you're trying to introduce new players to a worker placement style of gameplay, Stone Age is a really great one to go for. But either way, because of all of that, Stone Age is on this list specifically, but nonetheless, it is my number 5. At number 4, I've got another game that I do not own, and incidentally the second and the only other game that I do not own on this list. And I was debating about using a symbol for it. I was going to use a placeholder, but I felt that it would just be confusing for people. The game itself is Caverna, the Cave Farmers. I was originally going to use Agricola, or Agricola, however you want to pronounce it, but the problem is Agricola itself is a really great worker placement game. The thing is that by and large, Caverna has really replaced Agricola for me personally as a gamer. I really prefer Caverna, and the irony here is that in terms of Caverna versus Stone Age, they are very similar in the context of what you're actually doing. The whole point in both of these games is that you're in, like, the Stone Age, you're in, you know, the ancient past, and you're simply trying to survive. In the case of Caverna, it's really more based off of the Agricola mechanics of having a family, though. The idea is that you're trying to have and raise a family, keep everybody fed, keep everybody happy, raise different things. You want to start mining, you need to build tools, you need to build hunting equipment, all of that kind of stuff. The thing that I really like about Caverna over Stone Age, though, is, again, as I mentioned with Stone Age itself, is the complexity. There is a lot more going on with Caverna than there is with Stone Age. And for me personally, it's not a bad thing, because it's one of those games where you go into it and you know exactly what's going to happen. happen. You know that it's a very complex game that's probably going to take a good 2.5 or 3 hours. Stone Age, again, is really great simply because it is more simplistic, it's shorter, it's quicker for people to pick up, and it is a really great game. But Caverna, for me personally, is just one that I prefer more, and incidentally prefer it much more over Agricola. But a very great example of a solid worker placement game. Caverna, my number 4. As I mentioned, those two games that I just mentioned are the only two on this entire list that I actually do not own. The rest of these you'll actually get to see in person, live, on YouTube, during a non-live show, but who cares? You get to see them anyway. Number 3 is Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is an absolutely incredible game. I actually got this last year, almost a year ago exactly now, because of Gen Con. And I can't go this year, it's very sad. Either way, Robinson Crusoe is an awesome game. One of the major reasons that this is actually higher up on the list is because I really prefer the solo play. Now, again, I do know Caverna does have a really good solo mechanic, just like Agricola does. Both of them have solid solos, but I prefer the gameplay of Robinson Crusoe. And incidentally, they also have the expansion for this, which is the HMS Beagle, which is the ship that Darwin was on when he went to the Galapagos Islands and studies all the finches and all that kind of stuff. But either way, Robinson Crusoe is a relatively difficult game to get into initially. The rules are convoluted in some places, and they're difficult to get off of, but the thing is, this is one of these games where you really want to have somebody else who already knows how to play so that they can teach you how to do it. Or you can like watch a review, whatever it happens to be, just in some way learning outside of reading the rules, because reading the rules can be an extremely difficult thing with this particular game. But I love the theme with this. I love, you know, the story of Robinson Crusoe, where they're stranded on an island, they're trying to survive, blah, 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 get back home, all that kind of good stuff. The thing is, I really like the way that the scenarios play out, because the idea is you've got different scenarios, and depending on which scenario you're playing, you're doing different aspects within the game. But all of them really do have a good solid worker placement mechanic. There are also a bunch of other different mechanics that are in here, but for the purposes of this list, talking about the worker placement, a really tremendous game, a great expansion that really speaks to me personally, thematically, which I really enjoy. Robinson Crusoe, my number 3. At number 2, I oddly enough have another game that takes us back to not quite the Stone Age, but we are going back to ancient times. But in this case, the game is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. I do apologize if I mispronounce that. I do not know exactly how to say it. Now, I'm sure that you're probably thinking, but Danny, Tzolk'in is a really, really simple game. It's so easy. Why is it on your list here? Well, the reason that this is on my list over some of the other many worker placement games that are out there is just because of the way that it works. I love the calendar mechanic of this game. It is absolutely incredible. Having that actual physical entity of the big giant gear that you're spinning around every single turn is really fun. And it's really, really cool. It's something that you just really do not see at all in anything else. And it's very interesting because it gives you a lot more control in terms of what exactly your workers are going to be doing. Well, quote-unquote workers. It's a very, very interesting way to meld worker mechanics, worker placement mechanics, with having just pure raw patience when you're playing a game like this. And it's so well done. It's extremely well balanced. It's very, very interesting. It's good for anywhere between 2 and 4 players. I played it with 2, 3, and 4. The thing is that I believe it's only at 2 players. You actually have little dummy posts that permanently sit in certain areas, but you know, that's neither here nor there. It's just to keep the game balanced. But it's a wonderful game. The biggest thing for me is that physical mechanic of the physical movement of the clock, the big giant gear in the middle of the game. It's just absolutely amazing. I really enjoy this game. I love playing it. I love the worker mechanic aspect. It is a simpler game. It's not nearly as complex as even Robinson Crusoe, much less Caverna. But at the same time, just that unique mechanic is really what puts it over the edge for me and puts it into my number 2. At number 1, I've got another comparatively simple game that you may not think should be on this list based off of what I said with Stone Age, but the thing for this one is the theme. This one is all about the theme for me. It is the Manhattan Project. That's right, this is the game where you are trying to make a nuclear bomb. Whoa. Now, it's not as, you know, campy and cartoonish as something like Nuclear War is concerned, which incidentally is another really great game that you should also play. But the Manhattan Project is really, really interesting in the context of how the worker placement functions, because everybody has their own pool of workers. You have your own color, but then you also have like independent contractors effectively that you can end up getting. I love how the central board plays into the general gameplay for this, that everybody is just sort of sharing the same space. I mean, that's the whole point of worker placement, but the aesthetic is something that I really, really enjoy. And for those of you who have seen a lot of my videos before, you know that I really do not talk about aesthetics a lot because it's just not something that really interests me. But with something like this, I'm a scientist and I absolutely love this particular game. I love the idea of, you know, what essentially comes down to a nuclear arms race, which is, you know, really not something that you'd probably associate with a really fun, almost campy game, but it really is. The aesthetic is almost cartoonish in its way, but the strategy that's embedded within it is absolutely incredible. And it's really not something that you would expect from a game that's so relatively small and really almost, how do you say it? Non-threatening, I guess would be the best way to put it. But it's just, it's almost surreal, and it's almost just a really awkward juxtaposition, but it's one that really, really works for me personally, that I absolutely enjoy. Not only that, but the worker mechanic placement itself is absolutely solid without a doubt. It's a very tremendously fun game. This one actually plays up to 5 people, and it's not as long as some of the other ones, but it's not really short. It's about 2 hours or so. But either way, it's a really, really great game, and you've got your different roles. Literally, you've got different roles that people have to fit. So not only do you have worker placement, but you have different workers that do different jobs, all this kind of stuff. Really, really fun. Give it a try if you can. Give all of these games a try if you're able to at some point. But Manhattan Project, my personal favorite worker placement game, at number 1. So that's it for me, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed my little top 5 video for my personal favorite worker placement games. Again, as I said in the beginning, and as I say in all of my videos, I know that all of these things that I talk about are ridiculously enormous. These are huge categories, and I'm barely even able to scratch the surface on any of these. Even if I was doing top 10 videos, it wouldn't make any difference. And so, as always, what I always want to hear from you guys is what you all think. What are your favorite worker placement games? Are you more of a Pillars of the Earth person? Are you a Let's see what else. Dungeon Pets and or Dungeon Lords. You know, like what are your favorites? What do you like? What are your favorite worker placement games? Why do you like them? Do you like or dislike the ones that I talked about? All that kind of stuff. You guys know how it works. But either way, thank you so very much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.
Thank you very much again for watching my video of my top 5 favorite worker placement games. As I mentioned at the very beginning, I know this is another huge category of games, and as always, I barely scratched the surface of it, so please let me know your personal favorites in the comments below, as well as feedback on my personal favorites. Do you like them? Do you not like them? What do you think? All of that good stuff. Anything and everything, comments below. As always, I've got several of my playlists linked up at the top of the page, so you can see my latest videos that are coming out, and also make sure that you click on that big giant subscribe button so that you can see more from me in the future. With that, thank you very, very much again for watching this, and I will see you next time.